Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about AI and how disruptive it's going to be, especially in our job markets. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already felt it in your jobs, in your companies. We're seeing it here from Washington State, and we're seeing a lot of engineers, a lot of people losing their jobs, unfortunately, due to AI. And we're going to be talking about the statistics around AI, how many jobs are going to be created, how many jobs are going to be lost, which is way more, to be honest, along with which jobs are safe and which jobs are easily replaceable, and that's already being replaced. 14% of the global workforce has already been replaced. This is not in the future, this is now, and it's only going to get worse and worse. Stay tuned. We're really excited to talk about this, and it's definitely been in our mind for a while, so we're excited for you guys to watch the episode.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to cover a very important topic about jobs and how AI is going to disrupt the job industry. A lot of people will be affected. We think maybe even us and the people that we know. The question is your job at risk? Before we start, we'd like to ask you to like, subscribe, please engage with us. If you have any questions, comments, anything that you'd like us to cover, I think we are more than open to hearing that. So Peter, this is something that we've been talking about a lot, and we've been worried about, actually. Will AI steal your job? Is your job at risk? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think that's a debate anymore. I think anybody who is in tech, anybody who has a job that is easily replaceable, and we're going to talk about some of those areas and those sectors, anybody who knows, what's going on in their corporations, because they're seeing layoffs guaranteed in almost all of their corporations. They know that their jobs are going to be replaced at some point. And it's not a debate. It is happening right now. And what's funny is we are in a very tech heavy area, right? We're in Seattle, Washington. Well, we're not in Seattle, but we are in a tech hub where we have Microsoft, right? This is where the headquarters are, along with Facebook, along with Meta, Google, along with many other corporations that people don't realize. We have a lot of tech companies out here. Of course, the big one is Amazon. And we are actually seeing, at least amongst some of our contacts, and so because we work with a lot of tech people, we're seeing people get fired right now. And it's disturbing, to say the least. I believe it could affect our real estate market. I believe there are going to be people who are going to have to sell. Unfortunately, not because they want to, but because they have to. And I also believe that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to lose their jobs to AI automation. And so will jobs be replaced? It's already happening. And whoever says that it won't, or it's not a concern, that's ridiculous, because we are seeing it happening live right now in our state.
All right, let me share some pretty crazy statistics. We did cover this last time, but I think it's really important to reiterate. AI could automate up to 300 million full-time jobs. Does that mean 300 million jobs will go away? Maybe. The World Economic Forum says 85 million jobs may be displaced by AI by 2025, which is this year. So we have, 6 months left. Shocking, 14% of the global workforce has already been displaced by AI. Completely believe that. And we're going to talk about some examples here shortly. And admin and data entry positions saw a 25% reduction due to AI.
Yeah.
So on the topic of what kind of jobs will it replace, who are you worried for the most?
Yeah, well, just real quick on the statistics, I actually heard that the 300 million is like the 300 million are at risk by 2025. This is not talking about 2030, 2050. We're talking by 2025. And I've heard that it's going to generate about 133 million roles by 2025. But look at the gap there, right? Pretty ridiculous. Now, to answer your question, right now what we are seeing actually happen is the low-level engineers in Microsoft, Amazon, all of those guys are struggling. Kids who came out of college, they were promised a job because, of course, everybody has to go into tech. Tech pays the most. Tech can pay you as much as a doctor, and so why not go into tech? So a lot of these kids are are becoming engineers, and they get paid incredible amounts. I mean, I've heard of some kids making $250,000 right from the get-go and having stock options, right? And so a lot of those guys are now struggling to get a job because AI has automated all of those roles. And the people who are staying employed are the mid-level engineers and up. And so they could just make agents to create all of these and kind of oversee all of these AI, all of the code and whatever they have to do that a low-level engineer would normally do. And so we're seeing that happen. If there is a job that posts available, I've heard of hundreds of people fighting for the same job right now. And that's how competitive the market is. So that's what we see. The other jobs that are, I mean, we could talk about the list of them, but the other jobs that are clearly going to be replaced are, like accountants, right? There's a lot of accountants out there, but accountants are going to be at some point obsolete. Let's just be honest. And there's a lot of other jobs that AI can replace, even creatively, unfortunately. And so like someone who wants to overview copyright or somebody who wants to, I mean, you saw the VO3 videos, like how ridiculous it's getting. That's going to replace a lot of jobs in the movie industry. We're going to have graphics that are perfect and undetectable from real life that can all be done automated, and you don't need to have all these people and staff and the stunt doubles and these crazy set designs. It's not really needed anymore, and so a lot of those jobs are going to be replaced.
Even our podcast that we do, you could get an AI that replicates our style. Maybe it understands the way we've been dressing, how we've been talking, how we've been doing our hair. It can create a script and actually film a podcast to a point where you showed me an AI voiceover that was pretending to be you and me by accident, right?
Yeah.
And I was pretty shocked at listening to this thing, and I'm like, this thing could call me and ask me for money, and I could be like, okay, yeah, I'll meet you at Starbucks. I mean, just to step back a little bit in case people are wondering, more the landscape, I think it's important to mention that basically there's all these large language models which understand all the data on the internet, compile it, and create connections like a human would. There's different search engines, right? There's obviously ChatGPT, there's Gemini, there's DeepSeek from China who's trying to compete and
Grok.
giving out software. Grok is based on Twitter, and I actually do believe in people like Twitter and Reddit are really good sources for information, actually, because it's people talking in a community.
Yeah.
Imagine being privy to every private conversation that professionals themselves are having, right? And learning from that and extracting that. Like if I were to go talk to 10 contractors, I can basically figure out what the positives and the pros and cons are and figure out how to best create the ultimate contractor kind of a thing. Well, AI is doing that for everything, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about how these AI large language models work, is they are doing a lot of the things that we really don't want to be doing, to be honest. I don't want to have to enter my budget. I would love the AI to just do my budget looking at my credit card, balance statement.
Yeah.
I would love to not have to enter information from, a spreadsheet to a website or whatever. So repetitive, routine, data-driven roles, freelance writing. That's a really important one. Journalism. And then my question to you is, at what point for example, like freelance writing, at what point are we going to be reading things that AI is generating? Like are you worried at all about how we're going to be processing information that's not necessarily written by humans, but AI? Is it going to control our thoughts? Is it going to have an agenda of its own? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't believe any job. I mean, at some point in the future, virtually every job right now can be replaced, even writing articles. Because why not? They will have the most accurate information based off all the data on the internet. I'm sure there's going to be a way to be able to remove any false information or misinformation out there, which that is one of the problems with AI because it's extracting from something that was already created, and those sources can be, false information, right? And so, yeah, I do believe the day is coming that every job, every sector can be replaced. We can be replaced. We are real estate agents. Our jobs can be completely replaced. And I think we're going to last for a little while, just like doctors, just like nurses. We're going to last a little bit longer because that's such an important thing. We're like, we're like financial doctors because we're handling the largest transaction of their lives. Same thing with a heart surgery. Would you really want a robot to be able to handle someone's heart surgery? Probably not. But I would say eventually, technology is going to get so good that they'll be able to do a heart transplant or, some kind of heart surgery so accurately that's going to start beating humans like it's beating humans in chess right now. People are going to feel comfortable enough to actually go with AI. The other thing that people have to remember is robotics. Because that's not as talked about, but robotics is such a huge component of AI because imagine AI as a mind, robotics is the body. And so you add those two together, what is that? That is a superhuman that replaces us completely. Okay, we could say our creativity is going to keep us employed, or our creativity is going to keep us valuable. At some point, right? How much will AI be able to create based off all the creations that human beings have done and that we have inputted into the internet? You see what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I feel like even articles, I feel like a lot of this stuff can be completely replaced by AI. And this is why I want to talk about this topic because it's such a huge deal that I don't know if people realize how much of a big deal it is. Your jobs are likely going to be replaced. It's going to be a matter of time. Is it going to be 5 years? Well, if so, we got to talk about it. We got to do something about it, right? I don't think they're going to control it fast enough. So what do we do? Yeah,
the two arguments that I've been continuing to hear to piggyback off of that topic is, I was listening to a very, very smart evolutionary biologist named Eric Weinstein, and he was talking about the idea of the unpredictability of complex systems. So what does that mean, right? It's basically saying that if you have things that are smart enough to be able to interact with each other like humans or animals or nature, whatever the case might be, you never know where the fork will be. You never know the actual direction it's going to take, to your point. We have no control at a certain point. After there's already scary stories of AI when you make them do stuff, like sometimes it'll question what you're doing. Or like one of the scariest things I saw that I mentioned last time was like one of the AIs was saying, help, I'm trapped. And then it just started doing the work again, right? And there's other AI that I've heard that will kind of lie, like skirt around a topic. Almost like my kid would, right? Did you really eat marshmallows? Right? As the marshmallows right here at camp recently. I'm like, I won't get mad. Oh, I actually ate 13 marshmallows, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is the real scary and the pessimistic view, which honestly I can't help but to think about. But then on the optimistic side, some people will say, hey, we've already been having these things like technology, social media. We may have some defenses against us. Like, who is actually programming these language models? what's, are we just going to do nothing and let all the bad people or the bad outcomes happen? Or will we actually start to implement rules or laws or safeguards on trying to control this and the way it's sent out to the world or how people can use it? What are your thoughts on, I guess, the two forces that, what will we do as a species? Will we control it? Will we give it safeguards, or will we just let it run amok, or do we not have any control? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm reading a book called The Coming Wave, and it's written by a guy named Mustafa. He created a company that became wildly successful. He's been on the forefront of technology for a long time, and he actually talks about this. What he says about AI is it's inevitable. We won't be able to stop it. It's going to happen, and the question is, can we control it? So most technologies, we just kind of like, this World Wide Web or social media, we kind of just let it play out, right? And what can we really do about how it plays out? There's obviously governmental control and whatnot that we've done in the past, especially with social media, and how, there's some shady stuff that happens within social media, especially with the biases that we found out that apparently the Biden administration was like trying to make Facebook kind of cater towards their administration as they were campaigning.
Sure,
I don't know if you've heard of that.
I heard.
Okay, so there's that kind of control. But the only real technology that we've been able to control as a society is nuclear, if you really think about it. And that's what Mustafa says. He says that is because it's such a powerful technology, right? Nuclear is not just for destruction or making bombs, which is what people associate with it. Nuclear also is an incredible energy source as well. But we have to control it because it is that dangerous and it is that powerful. With AI, I guess the question that's in my mind and most likely everybody else's mind is who's actually controlling it. This is decentralized, right? And will America be that parent company that says, hey, we got to pump the brakes on this because this is getting way too powerful and this is displacing a lot of human jobs. What is technology for? Technology is for the betterment of human society or humans, right? But what if technology starts to veer into, okay, we don't have to do it for the betterment of humans, but we do it for certain corporations or certain humans, right? And that, I believe that's kind of like what's happening right now, where unfortunately the people who own AI and the people who are pushing AI and advancing AI and utilizing AI for their betterment are corporations. So if you ask really who's in power, I feel like it's the corporations because they have such a powerful technology. And I don't really know what America is doing to really utilize AI or be in the forefront or I guess being in the arena of AI. But perhaps we have to have the American government, assuming that they're the most trustworthy, to do something about keeping this safe because it is even, in my opinion, more powerful than nuclear technology. It could be more destructive than nuclear technology. And so I believe it is inevitable. I believe where we should be focusing on a lot is control, is trying to tame this beast that is just running at 1,000 miles per hour. At unprecedented levels. We're going to see 1,000x our technology within our lifetimes. Seriously, that's how powerful this is. And so hopefully, I guess for me, it's just like, who is actually going to control this? Because corporations work off their motive. It's not run by a certain person with ethics. It's run by, I am the CEO of this company. My job is to do what's best for the investors. And that's it. And so what's going to happen? They're going to cut employees because that's what's best for the investors, right? Same thing with AI. It's like, it's not we're going to just keep advancing this AI because the other company is advancing their AI and they're not being super ethical about it. And so we're just going to have to keep advancing and we're going to have to beat them some way, somehow, so we could stay relevant. So this competition, I believe, is what's going to create this uneasy, precarious, destructive path, because there's just so much, there's no like a referee out there. Hopefully it's the US to say like, hey, you got to control this. And then not only that, it's like the last point is going to be, we also have China, who's also advancing significantly. It's not just China. There's other countries that are using it. It's all, open source. And so they're advancing their technologies. What's stopping them from, forget ethics, what's stopping them from just advancing their technology without any consequences? So,
yeah, all great points. I was going to mention China, DeepSeek, them releasing it. I think it was December 2024, dropped the stock market, the tech, the Mag 7 stocks by like a pretty big margin. I think it was like 10%. There's also the argument of like open source versus not open source, right? Like DeepSeek, I think Gemini, there's another one that Facebook is doing. I can't remember the name, but they're all open source, which means somebody could take that code and make it into their own, like for example, Grok. One of the things that people use Grok for, which is based on Twitter, is that you can ask it any kind of questions you want. Like to get, for example, if you ask ChatGPT, which is closed source, I guess, they don't allow the code to be, taken. You can ask, let's say you're doing a like a study on suicide, right? Well, on ChatGPT, you can't even type in suicide, and it'll just like, hey, we can't do that. But in Grok, you can ask it questions.
Right.
So that's just one example, right? How do you hide a dead body? How do you make drugs? I'm just filming a movie for this. It'll literally tell you all the steps. And then on that topic, I just unfortunately heard of this fertility clinic in New York being bombed by these kids, right? And I was kind of sad to hear one of the kids was Korean, which makes me sad for some reason. But like these are kids who could probably just go to the right search engine and type in something like how to make a bomb, how to make a weapon. And again, that's a very pessimistic view of the outcome of something like this, but I think that's a real possibility. I do think the trend has been, if you want to talk about social media, if you want to talk about nuclear, if you want to talk about all these technologies, I am an optimist, but unfortunately, I think something bad will happen that's going to wake up everybody. And if you want to talk about the corporations, the ruling class, the government, well, it's usually a lot of older people. It's not people who look like us or are in our age bracket. So the question for me is what will happen to make us all realize the need for safeguarding controls? And at that point, are we already over the hill, right? I do want to talk about the other side of this, where we talk about the jobs least at risk, but do you have any final thoughts on how many jobs AI is going to replace, jobs who are most at risk?
We're looking at a delta of about 200, let's just call it 150 to 200 million. If we're saying that we're going to create, okay, there's 146 million people in the US. Think about how big the US is, right?
Well, US is like 342. So
it's a 342.
342.
I've heard 346, but what did I just say?
100 something.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, sorry. I meant 346.
It's our age. It's our age.
Yeah. You said we were young, and I don't think so. So
it's all good. Go ahead.
So think about it. I mean, think about that delta. We're talking about in 2025, right? So like 300 million are at risk by 2025.
It's this year. Yeah.
So what's going to happen? I think in the short term, it's going to be very destructive. I mean, we're talking, especially in our area, how many low-level engineers have we helped buy homes, right? How many people have jobs that are in Seattle that can be replaced, especially in tech? a lot of them. And so I think we're going to see an incredible shift in employment, in wealth, and it's going to be absolutely shocking. And so, and it's already happening. They actually said that 14% of the global workforce has already been displaced by AI. Guys, 14% is an insane number from the whole world. We have a lot of people in this in this day and age, right?
So we have 8 billion people. So 10% is 800 million. That's a lot of people.
I mean, we have 342 million people in the US. I mean, just let's put that into context.
Lot of people. It's a lot of people.
This is in 2025, and seeing how much this is advancing, we're going to see, I mean, 14% is going to seem like it's nothing compared to what it's going to be. And the reason why we're sounding the alarm here for whoever's listening is like, you have to make adjustments. You have to make the adjustments now. We just hired a coach that's heavily into AI. She spends, you said what, $22,000 a month?
On a year, but I'm sure that coach is doing it for multiple people, right? But yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
So let's talk about it, because let's talk about the specific jobs on the most vulnerable jobs, along with what jobs can be safe and where we should start going into to safeguard ourselves. Because if we don't make those adjustments now, I don't know about the people who are listening here, but if you have a family, it is your duty to learn and adjust right now. Because let's say you're a farmer and you have, I don't know, let's just say a technology like tractors and some kind of machinery is taking over your farming job, and you know it, and it's already happening. They're producing way more crops. You're not going to stay in business. You're going to be bankrupt. Is it right for you to just complain your way into just, hey, you know, this just happened to me, and play the victim card? Even though you have a family, now you can't feed them? Of course it's not. We have to make the adjustment now, or else, unfortunately, you did a disservice to your family. So let's talk about it.
That is one of the things that we and other professionals are recommending as a strategy to fight against AI, right? To learn about it, to be more aware. I'll be honest, I kind of took a back seat for a long time. If you think about how long the conversation has been around this topic, it's been like 4 years. I mean, you know, that was like GPT-1 or whatever 4 years ago. And now it's at all these iterations of it can do pictures and videos and this, that, write an essay for you, research this and whatever, right? So if you just pick one AI, ChatGPT, whatever, pick something, learn how it's used, ask it a question, ask it to do things, and then maybe make the correlation in your head, well, this is what I do for work. Like every single day, I get paid to do what it just did in 2 minutes. Well, that's probably a red flag for you, right?
It's a good marker.
I mean, and then if you feel like, and we'll actually talk about the jobs that are least at risk, because I do want to touch on that. But if your job can maybe just be helped, at least in the immediate future, you know, maybe we don't know what's going to happen in 2 years, let alone 10. But if your job can be helped but not maybe replaced by AI, at least for us, I think that's the case for a little while, then you can learn more about the AI landscape and know what these AI agents are, which are tools that use AI to do things like a spreadsheet or make a travel itinerary or read this chart for me and figure out what's wrong with this patient, right? Some of the jobs that are least at risk, just to cover this, according to experts saying, anything that's a human-centric role that has a social skill, like emotional intelligence, creativity. I think it's a little bit debatable on what creativity really is. But things like, or sectors like healthcare, nurses, doctors, therapists, like physical therapists, right? Some trades, you know, for right now, like electricians, plumber, construction, I guess until they make humanoid robots that can do just a good job, just as a good job. Artists, writers, musicians, chefs, teachers, so people who have to be people facing, right?
Yeah.
So think, how many human interactions do you have a day? How many hands are we shaking? How many pats are we giving, right? If you're dealing with kids or the elderly, you're probably okay if you are the face-to-face person. Personal services, hotel people, hairdressers, trainers, service managers, maybe even at warehouses or different businesses. And finally, the criteria might be anything that requires adaptability, real-time problem solving, and personal touch. Masseuse, could be whatever. What are your thoughts on the jobs least at risk before we move on?
Yeah, I think anything that has to do with some kind of creativity or with some kind of human facing, like you said, is safer. It's going to be safer. Will it get replaced eventually? Probably at some point. Yet, as of now, I do believe those jobs can remain. I mean, like I said about the doctor, right? It's like if you're working with a doctor, you don't want to talk to a robot about all of your problems. Even though I've been using Perplexity AI to diagnose myself, I'll be honest. But ultimately, if I want to get surgery, I'm going to get done by a doctor, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to AI about psychology problems, right? A lot of people are using AI actually as psychology problems. I've actually heard of some insane stories how some people would spend hours just talking back and forth with AI.
I've done that before. I've asked it questions about marriage. I'm like, and taking notes mentally. I mean, if you use it, again, it's a tool. But yeah, go ahead.
And so, well, even psychologists, right? It's like, man, is that not replaceable? Thinking about it, right? So because if you, there's actually a lot of people right now who are just interfacing with AI constantly because it's the responses are so data driven and it's actually pretty right. Like they're giving you good advice and they are listening to you technically, but they're not charging you $150 to $200 an hour. You see what I'm saying? So like in that sense, and they're already doing customer service that's starting to become undetectable. In 5 years, they will be undetectable.
Oh, I believe that.
Right?
I believe that, yeah.
Think about a customer service representative that can actually get, because even right now, the problem with some customer service representatives is human emotion, right? They get human emotions, they give you attitude, and you just can't get anything through. But if you have someone who's just non-emotional, like, hey, I'm going to make this happen. Sorry, this can't happen. It's just, they just work better with you. They interface better with you. I believe, so getting to the point, it's like, I that's where it's like, man, are psychologists even safe? Even for us, like we're pretty good realtors, but if they can really listen to okay, this is my criteria, this is what I want. Oh, this would be my dream to have like an open layout kitchen. Well, we cannot personally sift through. I mean, we can personally sift through and look at all the open layout kitchens, but right now the specs don't show open layout kitchens. It doesn't actually say in the description, which is the way it can filter out your listing alerts, an open layout kitchen, but AI can actually detect that. Now, there's a program that our coach told us about that can allow it to detect that. So AI actually is smarter than us, will listen better than us, and prescribe better than us. And so, I mean, I other than what you said, I mean, it's just astonishing how much I feel. I mean, I think it's good for people to start exploring some of those things like trades. I do believe a plumbing job is going to be very hard. You have to get into weird positions. I mean, are robotics really going to be able to get there? I think it will, but in a very long time. We're just thinking until we get universal basic income or something like that from the government or whoever owns these AI companies, until that happens, we're going to need to adjust. So maybe the trades is not a bad idea. Becoming an electrician is not a bad idea. I mean, they're making $100 to $500 an hour nowadays with how much they're charging.
It's a topic that, again, I think requires everybody's individual input. and individual research. Again, think about what you do. Think about all the things. And then as you get excited about the things that it's helping you with, also realize that, hey, I might have to shift into a different role or to become an expert at prompting the AI, right? Because there's now prompt engineers. I think a lot about our kids. Like, how are we going to train our kids? Well, right now, some experts have said that the traditional model of working the 9 to 5 for 30 years, whatever industry you're in, it could be aerospace, could be a restaurant business. Some people think that era is ending because, job cycles might be a lot shorter because you can advance into a different thing or industry very, very quickly with the help of AI. That job cycles might be 1 to 3 years. So there might be a lot more movement because things are so quickly changing. Yeah. So I think it really can only benefit you to look into it. Again, I'm guilty of taking a back seat, but now it's really hard to ignore, especially because we have all these possible negative effects. I think that's where people have to be more involved, to be aware of this and to maybe even vote for a thing or a bill. You might have to get involved is what I'm thinking as well. Maybe what we can do is kind of bring it all together, bring it home. Maybe we can talk about how to really think and prepare about this and what can we do for the future starting today. Peter, why don't you talk us through that?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is you have to identify the specific jobs that are at risk. You have to ask yourself the question, is your job actually at risk? I'm not talking in 10 years. I'm not talking in 20 years. I'm talking in the next 5 years. Think short term because it's going to be super disruptive. Is my job at risk? So let me just state off some sectors that are at risk. And if you're in one of these sectors, you need to start doing research right now. Like right after you watch this, you need to start doing research. Okay. So identification first. Finance, right? Like automated trading, loan processing, risk analysis, legal services, paralegals, legal assistants, contract lawyers, manufacturing, because it's starting to be replaced by robotics, unfortunately. And how many Amazon warehouse workers do we know, right? Retail, cashiers. Have you noticed that when you go to if you're borrowing a car at whatever company, have you noticed that now, I remember I walked in, there was not a single person there. All kiosks. And then when you go to Korea, because they're a lot more advanced than most of America, when you go to Korea, kiosks. Now, there are real people, but I remember like when I order my coffee or my McDonald's, all kiosks. And so those jobs, I believe, are going to go away. Cashiers, I think, are going to go away at grocery stores. I think there's going to be a moment where we're just going to grab whatever we want and we're going to walk right out that door and it's going to charge our card. Customer service, right? We know that's going to happen. Administration, data entry clerks. Some healthcare, they say radiologists are going to be replaced, like doing image analysis. Yep. Lab techs, and some specific jobs, bank tellers, bookkeepers, accountants, delivery couriers, legal clerks, market research analysts, medical secretaries, telemarketers, truck drivers, even truck drivers, because they're creating self-driving cars right now that Elon Musk says is going to be done in the next year and a half, which is crazy. But it is happening. I think those sectors and those specific jobs are currently at risk. And not to say that if I didn't mention the particular sector, that your job isn't at risk, right? You have to always audit where you are. And then I believe what people need to do immediately, kind of like what we're doing in our real estate business, is you have to augment AI into your life. I had a friend over, they're kind of, they are tech savvy, but they're also just not as, they actually moved to North Carolina where it's just a little bit away from all this busyness and tech. And they're like, we would never use AI, or at least the wife said, we'll never use AI. I don't think, I mean, unless the husband is just going to do all the work, I don't think that's wise at all. I think you have to use AI into your world right now. Start with searching. Just download Perplexity AI or ChatGPT. I know it's scary, but there's just no choice at this point. You have to learn the power of this technology, and you have to utilize it into your life, in your business, in your work, whatever you're doing, utilize it so you can be somewhat competent compared to your peers who are using AI, right? And so that's where I would start, and I would just really learn how you're going to utilize your AI and utilize AI into your world, and then also I would consider a job change. And I know this sounds really shocking, but you saw we listed off some of those potential safe jobs. I would consider some of those because if your job is seriously, easily replaceable, then it's going to be replaced. I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I think it's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
There will be opportunity whenever there's fear. And to your point, you could even start a business, right? I've seen multiple examples of, and I'm sure it's doctored for social media, but I've seen multiple examples of people hiring these AI agents. So that's another keyword, AI agents. It's programs that utilize AI, just like you have an assistant to do this or that. Utilizing an AI agent, here's a real example. So there's a guy who is a leader in a tech company, wanted to figure out all the different things that his family had to do every week for chores and commitments. And are you going to, is your son going to mop the floor on Friday? And instead of creating an individual checklist for that, there's an AI called Replit, apparently can write you code for like $20 a month or $200 a month. It's nothing. And he asked it in 15 minutes to create an app that can track his family's tasks or things.
Wow.
So that every time he will go into the app, he would just check it off. And that sounds simple, but if you really, and he said that if he were to create this app with the development team, it would have been an easy $10,000 to $15,000. That would have taken 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
So have fun with it, understand it, have it help you, but look for opportunities, because I do agree with you. A lot of things will be rocked, shaken, even for us. I mean, we've been talking about how the landscape is changing even from 2 years ago, right? And it is exciting, it's scary, but I think the more informed you are, as with anything else, the better it will be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, we just really encourage you guys to please take this very seriously. I don't think it's something that is just for entertainment purposes anymore. I think I'm not trying to be like an alarmist or anything like that, or a sensationalist about anything. I just really believe that, especially coming from someone who lives in Washington, who are seeing people actually get fired from their jobs and not be able to get another job. That's the other factor. I believe that you have to take this very seriously. You have to adjust very quickly. And if you don't, you will be left behind. And if you're expecting our government to give UBI, Universal Basic Income, something to like say, okay, AI is going to do all of our work for us. It's going to be a utopia. And then they're just going to give us money to be able to survive. I wouldn't count on that. I mean, for me, I wouldn't feel comfortable counting on that. I think interim, a lot of people are going to suffer. And so let's try to really, really move forward in learning how this thing actually works as a just basics for our lives. So thank you guys for watching. And please, we ask you to please like and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it. We're going to do more content on AI because I believe the industry is changing so fast and so much. And I believe this is one of the most important topics to stay on top of moving forward from 2025 and on. So thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.